Have you ever felt powerless in the face of deafening silence? When you've done everything right, tried to be attentive, dedicated, and yet she ignores you? The worst thing is that this silence isn't just an emptiness. It's a sharp knife that cuts into your self-esteem. You start to ask yourself, what am I doing wrong? Am I invisible? Am I not good enough? The pain is real, and it can feel like you're being left out, forgotten, as if your efforts are useless. But I have something very important to tell you. You are not lost. No, it's not the end of the line. Quite the opposite. It's a chance to destroy her ego and show her your true worth. Are you feeling the pain? Now feel the power to turn it into strength. Because what she doesn't know is that the game is about to change. The pain you feel can be the greatest motivator to reinvent yourself. The question is how you react. Will you sink into this hole, or will you come out stronger and more confident than ever? Imagine if, instead of desperately seeking her attention, you used this moment of rejection as the impetus to grow even more. Yes, I'm talking about becoming a stronger, more self-sufficient, more respected version of yourself. This isn't about her. This is about you, about your value, about what you can achieve when you stop depending on external validation to feel good about yourself. The fear of being ignored can be a prison that prevents you from growing. Now it's time to destroy that prison. I know that deep down you're afraid of losing the opportunity to be recognized. But the biggest mistake you can make right now is to let yourself be consumed by this fear and give it the power to define who you are. The solution is simple but powerful. If she ignores you, instead of despairing, do something extraordinary about it. Change her perception of you and become the person she will respect, admire, and perhaps even regret ignoring. It's time to act strategically. Stop chasing something that is out of your control and focus on what is within your reach, your personal growth. Because if you keep waiting for validation, you'll miss out on the only thing that really matters, the respect you deserve for who you really are. Don't be one more in the crowd of men who let themselves be defined by a woman's behavior. Be someone she can't ignore ever again. Now that you understand what's at stake, it's time to act. Don't let fear, frustration, or insecurity define your future. It is possible to turn pain into power and create a version of yourself that doesn't depend on anyone else to feel complete. So, if you want to know exactly how to destroy her ego and, at the same time, show your value in a way she never imagined, stick with me. In the next few steps, I'll teach you the strategies that will help you turn the tables. Now, before we move on to destroying her ego and showing your value, stop for a moment and make sure you're already subscribed to this channel, because the next few videos will be an incredible series that will teach you how to stay calm and confident in the face of adversity, turning every situation into an opportunity for personal growth. Don't miss it. It will be essential for continuing your journey of self-discovery and empowerment. Are you ready to take control of your life and show who you really are? Let's go. Redirect the focus to your growth when someone chooses to ignore you. It's natural to feel initial discomfort, perhaps even wondering if something is wrong with you. However, the real learning lies in redirecting your energy towards something more productive, your own growth. Imagine that every interaction with the world is an opportunity to become stronger and wiser. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Roman emperors and Stoic philosophers, used to reflect on how external events are neutral. It's up to us to decide what impact they will have on our lives. This principle is fundamental here. Instead of dwelling on unanswered questions or the weight of rejection, focus on you. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I become better today? These questions shift the focus away from the other person and bring it back to where it should be, on what you can control. Consider activities that make you evolve. Perhaps you'd like to take up that hobby that you've forgotten about for lack of time, or dive into a project you've always wanted to start, but have put off. This kind of effort not only strengthens your confidence, but also creates a solid foundation for your identity, something that no one can take away from you. Also, use this time to review your life goals. Do they still reflect who you really are? We often get lost in the pursuit of pleasing others and end up neglecting our own desires. Stoicism teaches us to value what is essential and not to waste energy on what we cannot control. By redefining your priorities, you create a space where external approval no longer has power over you. Now, think about those around you. It's easy to neglect those who always support us while we seek attention from those who ignore us. But it is in these relationships that we find true strength and balance. Strengthening ties with people who value you is a way of not only overcoming indifference, but also of building an environment of mutual respect and support. Remember that life is not about how others treat you, but about how you respond to those situations. When you choose to redirect your focus towards self-growth, you're actually showing the world and yourself that your inner peace doesn't depend on anyone else. That's a powerful thing. People of great value don't seek validation where it doesn't exist. They cultivate their inner strength and let it show. As the wise Epictetus said, it is impossible for anyone to lose what really belongs to him. Your dignity and progress are always yours, and no one can take them away. So the next time someone decides to ignore you, see it as a chance to grow. Don't waste time with resentment or fruitless questioning. Instead, turn the experience into a stepping stone to something greater. After all, every step you take towards self-growth is a step towards a richer, more independent and fulfilling life. Keep your composure and avoid emotional reactions. Being ignored can arouse an inner storm of emotions, frustration, insecurity, even anger. But it is precisely at these moments that the principles of Stoicism become most relevant. Stoicism teaches us that true power lies not in controlling others, but in governing ourselves. As Seneca said, nothing is more honorable than a tranquil mind. This is the guide you should follow when dealing with the indifference of others. When you realize you've been ignored, the first thing to do is pause. Take a deep breath. This simple act of slowing down prevents your emotions from taking over. When you react in a hurry, it's easy to act in a way that doesn't reflect your values. But when you choose to remain calm, you demonstrate strength and clarity. This serenity is something that many admire and few manage to achieve. Imagine the situation. You send a message, make a call, or try to start a conversation and get no response. The immediate tendency might be to insist, seek attention, or even confront the person. However, these actions often end up reinforcing the position of the person who ignored you, as well as undermining your own sense of worth. Here, the Stoic approach is clear. Focus on what is within your control. You can't force someone else to live up to your expectations, but you can control how they choose to react. An appropriate response would be to maintain composure and demonstrate a balanced demeanor. This doesn't mean that you should be indifferent, but that you should act with moderation. If you have to try again, do it only once and do it discreetly. If you don't hear back, let the situation take its course. Don't insist. Letting go is actually a sign of strength, not weakness. Also, bear in mind that the way someone treats you often says more about them than it does about you. Someone who chooses to ignore you may be dealing with their own internal struggles or simply be unwilling to match your energy. In either case, it's not something you can control, and therefore not something you should worry about. The practice of maintaining composure also has a profound impact on how you are perceived by others. People who manage to deal with difficult situations in a balanced way often convey an aura of self-respect and reliability. This not only strengthens your relationships with others, but also boosts your self-esteem. Another crucial point is to avoid the poison of negative interpretations. It's easy to fall into the trap of assuming that you've been ignored because of a lack of interest or as a form of disrespect. However, these assumptions only feed the negativity and don't help at all. Stoicism teaches us to seek the truth without letting ourselves be carried away by the illusions of the mind. Finally, remember that your dignity lies in how you choose to behave, even when faced with adverse situations. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not over external events." Realize this and you will find strength. Your reaction to indifference should not be a reflection of the other person's attitude, but rather a testimony to your own character. So when silence is the only response you get, choose the path of tranquility. Walk with your head held high and the certainty that your inner peace is untouchable. After all, true strength does not lie in forcing a connection, but in accepting what cannot be changed with dignity and serenity. Maintain self-respect by ignoring answers in a world where the search for external validation often guides our actions. Stoicism reminds us of an essential truth. Your value is in no one's hands, but your own. Being ignored may seem like a direct attack on your self-esteem, but in reality, it's an opportunity to reinforce your self-respect and align yourself with what really matters. Imagine that you reach out to someone, a message, an invitation, or a gesture of kindness, and the return is silence. The absence of reciprocity can trigger emotional triggers, leading to doubt or the impulse to search insistently for someone else's attention. However, Stoicism guides us to face these situations with clarity and purpose. It's not about running away from confrontation, but consciously choosing where your energy should be applied. When faced with indifference, practice the skill of ignoring with dignity. It's not a game of who gives up first, but a manifestation of inner strength. As Epictetus teaches us, people are not disturbed by things, but by the view they take of them. The realization that silence is a reflection of those who ignore you, and not of who you are, should be your anchor point. By deciding not to insistently seek the attention of those who ignore you, you are sending a clear message, not only to the world, but also to yourself. I am enough. This declaration of self-reliance resonates deeply with Stoic teachings, where the basis of happiness lies in independence from what is external. Practicing self-respect also means setting clear boundaries. It doesn't mean retaliating with the same coin, but rather choosing silence when it is more powerful than words. This choice strengthens your integrity, protecting you from impulsive reactions that could tarnish your image or cause regret. On the other hand, avoid falling into the trap of interpreting silence as something personal. Not every unrequited gesture is a sign of disdain. Perhaps the other person is busy, dealing with their own difficulties, or simply didn't notice your intention. In this case, the best course of action is to move on, carrying with you the conviction that your value is not diminished by a lack of response. Self-respect also involves being surrounded by people who genuinely value you. Devote your attention and energy to those who recognize your presence, value your contributions, and reciprocate your affection. In this way, you build a circle that reflects the values you cultivate, eliminating superficial relationships that drain your emotional strength. And, perhaps most importantly, it is essential to remember that Stoicism is about finding inner peace regardless of the circumstances. Marcus Aurelius, in his famous writings, said, "Look within. There is the source of good, which never stops flowing if you keep digging. Instead of seeking external attention, turn inwards and cultivate respect for who you are and what you represent." The practice of calmly ignoring responses is not a sign of weakness, but a demonstration of strength. Another person's indifference does not define you. What defines you is how you choose to react. Strengthen your heart, trust in your worth, and carry on with the certainty that true strength lies in your ability to remain whole in the midst of adversity. Engage in pleasant activities when we find ourselves facing rejection or situations in which we are ignored. It is common to feel an emptiness that threatens our confidence. At such times, Stoicism teaches us to redirect our actions towards what really matters and brings us joy. One of the most effective ways to overcome these moments is to immerse ourselves in experiences that connect us with the positive in life. Imagine dedicating time to something that deeply excites you, whether it's playing sports, learning a new skill, or simply enjoying a relaxed conversation with friends. These activities, as well as providing immediate satisfaction, remind you that your happiness is not dependent on the approval of others. After all, as Seneca wisely put it, happiness lies in wanting what you already have. When you choose to direct your attention to moments that give you pleasure, something powerful happens. You take control of your narrative. Instead of defining yourself by rejection, you define yourself by actions that strengthen your identity and increase your self-confidence. This doesn't mean you're running away from the problem, but rather prioritizing your mental and emotional health, as any wise individual would do. What's more, by getting involved in activities that arouse your enthusiasm, you open yourself up to new possibilities and connections. Imagine taking part in a sporting event or signing up for a cooking class. On these occasions, you not only distract yourself from negative feelings, but also create the chance to meet people who share similar interests. It's a way of widening your social circle and strengthening your ties with people who can add value to your life. Another benefit of these experiences is that they cultivate a state of presence. Activities that require concentration, such as dancing, playing an instrument, or practicing yoga, pull you into the present moment, taking your mind off what's left behind or worries about the future. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Engaging in something that demands your full attention is a practical way of aligning your thoughts for well-being. And don't underestimate the physical impact of pleasurable activities. Moving your body, whether running, swimming, or dancing, releases endorphins that act as a natural mood booster. This, combined with the sense of achievement from dedicating time to something meaningful, creates a positive cycle that strengthens both body and mind. A fundamental point in Stoicism is that we can't control the actions of others, but we have total control over our reactions. So instead of lamenting what is out of your reach, dedicate yourself to what can transform your reality. Build new memories and fill your days with moments that remind you of what really matters. Finally, remember that these experiences not only help you get through difficult times, but also build your resilience for the future. By cultivating the practice of pursuing rewarding activities, you create an emotional fortitude that prepares you to deal with any adversity that life throws your way. Rejections are inevitable, but you always have the power to turn these moments into fuel for growth. So go out, live intensely, and allow the pleasure in each small achievement to serve as a reminder of the value that resides in you. Raise your social presence when you face the challenge of being ignored or feeling that your actions are not recognized. It can be tempting to seek approval in places where it is not. However, one of the greatest lessons Stoicism offers is the notion that our inner peace and self-sufficiency do not depend on external validation. One of the most effective ways to protect yourself against these emotional blows and raise your self-esteem is to invest in your own growth. And one of the main aspects of this growth involves working to improve your social presence in a strategic way, through personal and professional improvement. What do I mean by raising your social presence? This refers to the process of strengthening your network of relationships, improving your social skills, and generally becoming someone who exudes confidence and value, without having to constantly seek the approval of others. Often, people focus so much on being accepted or recognized in social groups that they end up forgetting that their true strength comes from self-sufficiency. This is something that the great Stoic philosophers, such as Epictetus and Seneca, already knew. Personal value does not lie in being recognized, but in being someone with a solid character who seeks excellence for its own sake. By investing in developing your social presence, you create a positive effect in several areas of your life. Firstly, if you dedicate yourself to self-knowledge and self-improvement, you naturally start to attract the right people into your circle. But for this to happen, you need to focus on who you are, what you stand for, and what you can offer the world, rather than endlessly seeking what others can offer you. This doesn't mean that you should isolate yourself or give up socializing. Quite the opposite. What we're talking about here is creating an environment where you can be yourself, without the need to prove anything to anyone. The first step to elevating your social presence begins with self-reliance, which is one of the virtues most extolled by the Stoic philosophers. They believe that by developing your emotional and mental independence, you can create a solid foundation for dealing with adversity and rejection. This means that instead of obsessing over the approval or attention of others, you should work to ensure that your happiness doesn't depend on it. This kind of thinking may seem challenging at first, but over time, you'll find that it brings much more lasting and robust inner peace. Another important point is the pursuit of constant self-development. No matter where you are on your journey, there is always something new to learn. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of recognizing what we can control and what we cannot. In this social context, we can control what we do, the skills we acquire, and the way we present ourselves. By investing in improving aspects such as emotional intelligence, mastering new skills, and even practicing physical activities, you become a person who naturally attracts respect and admiration. People who take care of themselves, who dedicate themselves to learning, and who strive to be the best version of themselves have a magnetic social presence. Social presence is also strengthened when you become someone who contributes positively to the environment around you. Think of people you know who have a contagious energy. These people tend to be those who are always willing to help, listen, and share good experiences with others. This doesn't mean being someone who is always looking to please or do favors, but rather someone who is willing to invest in relationships and add value to the group. This attitude is also something that the Stoics valued, because they knew that our actions, when directed towards the collective good, not only help others, but also strengthen our own character. But by elevating your social presence, it's not just about expanding your circle of friends or professional contacts. It's also about setting a standard for the way you behave in any situation. How do you deal with others? How do you respond to criticism or even moments of indifference, such as being ignored? The key here is to remain calm, composed, and self-respecting at all times. When you have confidence in who you are and what you stand for, the opinion of others loses power over your happiness and success. This is what Marco Aurelio teaches us when he says, "What is not good for the hive is not good for the bee." A high social presence is also the result of a balance between caring about others and not getting lost in their expectations. This means that you can be empathetic, truly listen, and supportive, but you must also learn to distance yourself from those who don't contribute to your growth or who don't deserve your attention. This is not an act of arrogance, but of self-understanding. People who don't respect your presence or your boundaries can be a source of emotional distress. And if you're dedicated to maintaining inner peace, it's important to learn to distance yourself from those who don't contribute positively to your journey. Furthermore, by strengthening your social presence, you increase your influence. This is not about manipulation, but about being someone who is respected and admired for their authenticity and integrity. Over time, you become a reference in your social environment, whether at work, with your family, or with your friends. Your word carries weight. Your actions are seen as an example, and, naturally, people begin to approach you not because of your need for validation, but because of your character. In short, by focusing on personal development and building a solid social presence, you not only protect yourself emotionally from being ignored or rejected, but you also set yourself on a path of continuous growth and self-sufficiency. Stoicism teaches us that while we can't control the actions of others, we can choose how we react to them. And by elevating your social presence, you become someone capable of facing any challenge with dignity, respecting yourself, and, consequently, attracting the connections that really matter into your life. So, have you heard about how to react when a woman ignores you and how to use this to your advantage? Did you know that this can be a powerful tool for your personal growth? Let me know in the comments if you've ever experienced this, or if you know the story of someone who has. I'll be in the comments to help you. Now that you've gone through each stage of this process, I want you to take away something fundamental. The power of control is in your hands. How you react to being ignored, how you turn pain into motivation, and above all, how you put your personal growth first, will be what really defines your value. It doesn't matter what happens outside of you. What really matters is what you do with it. If you follow the strategies we've discussed here, if you focus on what's within your reach, you'll not only transform the situation, but you'll become someone who can no longer be ignored. Instead of seeking validation, you will become a reference, someone who is respected, someone who achieves by being who they are, without depending on anyone else to feel complete. So remember, it's not about her. It never has been. It's about you. What you did today was to take the first step towards becoming a stronger, more resilient version of yourself. And, believe me, that's the only path that really matters. Now, the choice is yours. If you really want to change, apply the strategies we've discussed here. Turn every moment of rejection, every obstacle, into an opportunity for growth. And when you least expect it, you'll realize that true value lies not in being recognized by her, but in being someone no one can ignore. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can keep receiving the next content, which will help you become the best version of yourself. See you in the next video.